Welcome back everyone, and this is the 5th part in this UNET tutorial series, and this is going to be a really interesting and very neat video. Alright, so just to remind you from where we were in the last video, quite simply I was using network simulation, and as you can see the player movement is quite laggy as they move about, and I explained in the previous video the reason for that is because this latency is constantly shifting, so messages being sent from the server to the client here, the remote client here, it's always varying. There's a bit of time gap between them, and so because of that the remote client can sometimes have no position to move this character towards. So there can be moments of time where there's just nothing for them to move towards, and so because of that they sort of hang in the air or hang on the ground like that. So what I'm going to do, it's a very common technique actually, it's the same old interpolation, but all it is I'm just going to keep a list of positions for the remote client to move towards. So I'm going to set the game back into the past. For this player here, for each player, each local player, they are seeing for them they are in the present, but everything around them, all the other remote players, they're slightly in the past. And by doing this and by keeping a list basically of waypoints, the motion of these remote clients can be smoothed out. So it's like all faked basically, but even with high latency the motion can still look quite smooth, so we need to go and do that. So I will open up my sync position script, and I guess I'm going to add some new variables, and I actually need to use a list, so I'm going to use using system.collections.generic, and I'm going to have a new list, so private list, and what type is it? It's going to be a vector3, and its name will be a sync pos list, I guess, as equal to a new list. Alright, there we go. Okay, and I'm also going to do a few more things. I'm going to have no longer just a plain lerp rate. I am going to do, I am going to have a lerp rate, but I'm going to have more numbers here. So private float normal lerp rate is equal to 15, and private float faster lerp rate is equal to 25. And before I forget, in the start function I will just set that. You'll soon see what I'm doing. I will set lerp rate is equal to normal lerp rate to begin with, just in case that is changed, but it doesn't really matter, so I can just get rid of that now. And what I will do also, I think I need another variable. Yes, I think I do. It's a boolean I need, serialize field, private bool is historical, use I think is the more appropriate word here, use historical lerping. I couldn't think of a better name for it, so that's what it is equal to false to begin with, and I would say that's enough. Coming to the lerp position here, now I'm going to have two functions. So if use historical lerping, then it's going to do a different kind of lerping. Else it's going to be this one right here, but I'm going to put that in a function, so I'm going to call that void. Oh, I think I've forgotten to do something. Did I forget to put a semicolon anywhere? Maybe not. Okay, fine. So void and ordinary lerping, I think I will call it. Alright, and this is where I'll take this bit of code, this current method, the way I'm lerping right now, interpolating rather, and I'll put it in there, and I'll go up here, else ordinary lerping. Okay, now the new stuff. So void historical can spell that right. Lerping. And what can I do here? So what I'm doing is I've got this list for a reason. I'm going to put, basically I'm going to put waypoints inside of it. Now in order to do that, what I really need to do is to turn this into a hook function. So whenever the server sends some data to the clients, a function is also automatically run on the clients because this value has changed. So I think I might do sync var. Let me see. Let me think. How do you call it? Was it like this or was it like that? Hook is equal to some function. So what can I call this? I guess I'll just call it sync position values. Now I need to go make a function. So I'll come here, sync position values. So I'll call it void sync position values, and it has an input which is a vector3 latest pos, I'll call that. So this is what's going to, I'll explain it in just a bit. And I think, yes, I would only run this on the clients. So I'm actually kind of like making this up a bit as I go. The sync pos value for the clients on the clients is going to be equal to latest pos. And I am going to now add an entry to the list. So sync pos list dot add I'll put sync pos since I've just assigned that value. Good. All right. So what's going to happen? The server, as you know, is already getting the commands are being run on the local player, telling the server, here's the latest sync pos, the position value. So then the server, it knows it's a sync var, so it receives that value. It's assigned to this slot, to this variable here on the server. And then using the sync var, it will send that value to the clients. Now it knows instead that there's a hook function called sync position values. Did I actually write that correctly? Yes, I did. Called sync position values, and this is going to be run on the clients, and the input here is this value. It knows that that's what's changed, and it automatically will supply that value into the function, and on the clients then this variable will get set. Otherwise it doesn't get set. Now that it's a hook function, this variable is not going to get set on the clients. I have to do that in this function here. And also I'm going to add a value to this list, and this list I'm now going to lerp towards the items in the list. Now let me just quickly go to the editor. I'm just not sure if I wrote that correctly. Yes, I think I did actually write that correctly. Okay. So coming back here, use historical lerping. Well, I won't do this. There's no point trying to lerp to something if the list is empty. It'll just throw up an error if I try to do that. So first of all, if sync pos list.count is greater than 0, then I'm going to do something, and in that case I'm going to basically interpolate towards the first position in the list. So I'm going to say sync pos list item 0, so the first item in the list. There's something else I'm thinking now. You see, when you lerp towards a position in this manner, well, obviously I want to move on to the next waypoint, right? So obviously when I'm close enough to this position that's in the list, I should knock it out of the list, right? Okay, so I'm going to have a new variable. I'm going to call this one private, you know, when it's close enough. So private float close enough, and I'm going to say 0.1f is close enough, 0.1 meters is close enough. So if vector3, let me think about this. What am I doing here? Yes. If vector3 dot this, I haven't done something correct. When it's not auto-completing, I've forgotten to put a semicolon. There we go. I thought so. Something was a bit odd there. If vector3 dot distance And what is that distance between? It's between my transform.position and the sync pos list item 0, and that's it, and it's less than close enough. So what am I going to do? I'm going to remove that entry in the list, so then the player is no longer trying to go, well, the remote character is not trying to move towards that position anymore. So I will say sync pos list dot remove at, which index should I remove at? The index is 0. Done. Okay, so now the player will no longer try to move towards that. Now what I'm doing is I'm trying to build up. I think I should show you something first. So debug.log and sync pos list .count .toString. All right. Oh yeah, I think I need to show you this first before I go further. So I'll use that function now. All right, set that. Okay. Have I got everything I need done? I believe I do. All right, let me go in here. Set on the player. So you've already seen what it looks like with the ordinary lerping. So what you need to see is what it looks like with this. And of course, just check that that's all okay. So hit the build and run, and just show you now, I'm not finished yet. Get a game running. Get a client in. All right. Just move out a little bit. Oh, and if the UI is in the way, you can just go to layers and just turn it off and turn it back on when you need to edit it in the editor. It only affects the editor. All right. So, oh, oops, I think I moved out a bit too far. That's better. Okay, so now I'll move around, and you can see that it looks rather funny, and well, actually, it's not that funny. Actually, you can see that it is kind of working. But you can see also the list is getting huge. Like there's entries. I'm not even running yet. I'm just moving this character around, and it is lerping about, and well, it's kind of smoothed it out a bit, not entirely, I think. But you can see that there's some sort of improvement. But there's a problem. See, the list has gotten huge. It means that the player's view is getting more and more and more into the past. Too much so. And because of that, and you could see as well, the player wasn't moving around maybe as fast as they needed to as well. So okay, well, I think I'd better do something about that. And one thing I can do is that, let's say if my list is starting to get too big, so if sync pos list.count is getting greater than, say 10, then what I can do is to set my lerp rate is equal to faster lerp rate. Else, if that's not the case, then lerp rate is equal to normal lerp rate. So this will just make the player move faster towards their goal, towards the target, and so knock that item out of the list by getting there faster. And this is certainly the case when the player is running. That's exactly what's going to happen. So I think I have my normal lerp rate and faster lerp rate values okay, but it really is a bit of trial and error to get that to get some suitable values there. Okay, so now with that, let me try it again. Let me see if there's any kind of improvement. And there should be. Okay, and this one's the host. This is the client. Jump in. Alright, just move out a little bit so I can see. Alright. Okay, so my list size is getting controlled. There's still a bit of teleportation happening, So that's not quite right. So it is a bit better, but I'm not happy about that kind of rubber banding effect. Though the list isn't quite catching up as fast as required, so something isn't quite right. It's taking a bit too long to move around. Let me just check what I do have set here. So that's my position. And oh, I can set the send interval down now. I don't need it so high anymore. Okay, so if that's looking like this, that's looking alright. It's not looking too bad. So what about my code itself? I have it going here from my transform.position to the sync position list at this rate time.delta time times the lerp rate, which is correct. What else? I'm making sure that it's only on the non-local player. Yes, that's correct. I'm using it. Ordinary lerping. Yep, that's fine. Okay. That's okay as well. Close enough. Okay. Right, so perhaps my close enough value is not good enough. Let me also check my advanced configuration setting. It is on reliable sequence, so that's exactly what I do want. Okay, so in that case, maybe I should set up my close enough value to be slightly higher. I could also try setting the lerp rate to a different value. That could also have an effect. And run that again. All right. Okay, it's probably working a bit too well. It is much better now. You can see that it's really smoothed out by reducing the close enough, by increasing the close enough value. So that means I'm knocking items out of the list a bit faster. Now I'm running. I'm pressing shift down and running, and you can see that it looks right. It looks about right. It's actually working very smoothly. It is actually very smooth despite the latency. So it's working, the system is working. It just needs a bit of tweaking, really. So you can see I've stopped moving and it just takes a little while. Now that's one problem, maybe because my close enough value is too large. Now it stopped the player's position while they're still in the air. So that tells me that I probably don't want to play so much with the close enough value. I probably want to increase the lerp rate. Maybe I want to increase this to say 18 and this one to say 27 and then try that. That can't hurt. Might as well see what happens. And while I'm at it, why don't I just set this back to 0.1, so only 10 a second. Alright, and come back here, build and run. Okay. Alright, now that is actually much better. It's probably lerping too fast. It is actually lerping too fast, just a bit too fast. But that is quite an improvement over the original setup that I had. So you see when I'm running, the sync position list is getting populated. So I have shift down right now, is getting populated. So there's no shortage of positions for the remote player to interpolate towards, and as such the position, the movement looks very smooth. This minor amount of jerkiness is just the Unity editor. That's just some editor jitteriness, if I might call it that, and otherwise it would actually look very smooth. So when I start walking again, the list starts decreasing in size. Whenever it hits 0, that is when there's going to be a real stutter. That's when it's going to stutter. So that tells me I'm still lerping. I'm lerping just a bit too fast in walk mode. Alright, so okay, that is actually working very well. So I will reduce that slightly to say 16. I think that might work. I could even put close enough to like 0.11. You can see that I'm just playing around with the values now. And I think there's nothing else for me to actually do here, nothing else at all. You can see that it was a very short bit of code to get this system working. And let me build and run that again. Oh, actually, no, I won't build and run again. I'm going to increase the latency some more. So let me do that. And let me increase the timeouts, otherwise it might time out, because I'm going to put on a ridiculous lag. What would be ridiculous? Like 250. That is ridiculous. That's 500 milliseconds. Let me hit run. Let's see what happens. Might as well just see what happens. I'm not even sure myself what's going to happen. I expect it to perform okay. Oh, timeout. Oh, I hadn't increased that enough. So I didn't increase the timeout value enough. Let me put it to something ridiculous, because you know, it can vary, it can fluctuate. So it just fluctuated out enough to hit the timeout and timeout. So let me try that again with a ridiculous value. Put it on the host, run it, run the client. Okay, and it's ridiculous latency. Alright, and let's see how that performs. And that is performing actually very well. It only stutters when it hits 0. Actually, that is very, very good. That's actually excellent. So it looks very smooth despite the huge latency being simulated. I'm now running towards the player, and I jumped. You can tell that there's a bit of a delay, of course, because the way I'm doing it, as you can see, the client is seeing the remote character moving in the past, and it is actually working excellent. This really is excellent. I'm actually surprised it's working this well on a such a high latency, which is good, which means the system works, the idea works. I just need to spend time, and you would too, tweaking the values till you came to something that really worked for your game. Now, if you were really clever about it, you would in fact tie those lerp rate values somehow with the speed of your player. So if the speed of your player changes, like, you know, you had a stat system where some players could be faster or slower, then you would tie the lerp rate value to that somehow to get a good enough approximation of that. Now let me turn off the use historical lerping to just remind you of what it was before. Okay, I'll just set up the host, hit a client. It's taking ages to get in. Oh, it timed out. Let me try again. I hope it works. Okay, it worked. Okay. Oh no, it timed out. Okay, let me just set that down. I'm sorry, it's a bit ridiculous. It's a bit too ridiculous. So let me set that back down to, say, 200 and do that again. Otherwise, the video will just be me timing out. And come back in, jump back there. Oh, didn't time out, good. And that is to remind you of how awful it was before implementing that historical interpolation. So you can see with it, dramatic improvement, smooth motion at high latencies, the occasional jerk when the sync position list hits 0. Otherwise, though, it's excellent. Now, when would this actually not be so great? It would be not so great if you are actually having the hit detection happen on the server itself. In that case, then you have to do some more work. I haven't implemented this yet for the rotation yet, as you've seen. I need to do that for rotation as well. So this system of historical interpolation kind of doesn't work so great if you're going to do the hit detection on the server, because then things need to be, I guess, a lot closer. But in my case, I'm not going to do that. I am actually going to do hit detection on the local player, then inform the server of what has happened and to tell the server to apply the damage, because in my case I'm making a survival co-op game. Oh, oops, did I just accidentally, well, not so accidentally, mention what type of a game I'm going to make with this UNET tutorial series? It's going to be simple, of course. There's just a bunch of capsules and so on, and there's going to be, well, hopefully there's going to be some AI capsules or some other polygon or some other shape chasing after the players. So in this case, it's no problem whatsoever. And even if it were a problem, you know, you could have a voting system where if a player is cheating, then the players just vote and kick that player off the game. They just get rid of them. And, you know, just remember what their IP address is, keep that IP address for the session, the game session, and keep that player banned for the game session. What it means is if they're not so sophisticated, a cheater, they have to go and actually turn off the router and turn it back on to get a new public IP address so that they can connect back to that particular server and cause trouble again. Okay, now I'll leave you with that, but before I go, I would recommend having a look at this excellent article, and there are quite a few other articles written by Gabriel Gambetta, if I've pronounced that correctly, and I apologize if I haven't. But anyway, this is actually a very, very good article on these concepts and what is done in general by, I guess, the game industry to overcome these problems. And it really is a very well written article and very easy to understand as well. So I'd recommend you go and read that if you're interested in learning a bit more about all this sort of stuff. Okay, well, thank you for watching, and I hope this has benefited you.